Hi everyone, my name is Gabby and I am the community manager at Grapevine. Thank you so much for joining this lightning session today around how to run hybrid events for your Giving Circle like a pro. I hope everyone is having a fantastic We Give Summit, and I'm really excited to kick this off. So all my contact information you can see is on the bottom here, and it will also be at the end of the presentation as well. So a bit about me. As I mentioned, my name is Gabby and I am the community manager at Grapevine. A huge part of my role is running events for our community of over 50,000 Giving Circle members and leaders. So this looks like monthly virtual member mixers, educational workshops, panels, office hours, demo sessions, you name it. So I've been with Grapevine since August, and I've been a community manager for a while now, and I've had other roles where running events, especially virtual events, was part of my role. So prior to this, I worked for an immersive platform for events called Bramble, and I actually hosted an event called Hybrid Events on a Budget almost a year ago exactly today. And then prior to this, I was the manager of the film office at the Toronto International Film Festival. And my events have been featured in places like the New York Times and other publications. So I feel excited to jump into this topic with you, and I have some great experience to share. All right, so a bit about our work at Grapevine. So Grapevine, we power the infrastructure of Giving Circles. So we're the online home that lets you collect funds, community build, communicate with members, you name it. So to date, our community has donated over $22 million to over 2,400 nonprofits. So as I mentioned, we have over 50,000 community members and over 800 Giving Circles on the Grapevine platform. So what will this session cover today? So we're going to answer the question, what even is a hybrid event? Why you should consider hosting one for your Giving Circle, technologies to consider. We're going to go through a quick example of a potential hybrid framework you can use using Zoom. We're going to look at some incredible community source insights from a few of those 800 Giving Circles on Grapevine who are running hybrid events currently. And then finally, we're going to end with an event checklist. So what is a hybrid event? So a hybrid event combines elements from in-person and digital experiences into one ideally cohesive event. So you can imagine it sort of as an event where you have two groups of people in two completely different rooms. So how can you make their experience feel unified? How can you make those two audiences also feel connected to each other? That's a really key part as well. So why consider a hybrid event for your Giving Circle? So there are three really important reasons that you should consider this. Number one, it instantly allows your event and in turn your Giving Circle to reach more people and places. It also increases member engagement by giving your members more ways to participate. And it also makes your event accessible and inclusive, especially to those with maybe health issues, mobility issues, childcare related concerns, you name it, it makes it more accessible and inclusive to many more people. So there are so many technologies you can use now for hybrid events. I've pulled some of the bigger ones up here. These are sort of catered for hybrid events, so there is a price tag associated with them, but they have features that have been specifically developed for hybrid events and to increase engagement and all that kind of stuff. So if you ever find yourself in a position wanting a bit more of a targeted sort of platform for a hybrid event, these are some great options. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to walk through using Zoom because it's one that we're all very familiar with at this point, and is really accessible to use as well. Okay, so let's walk through a hybrid example framework using Zoom. So there are 8 key steps that I've sort of outlined here for you. And you can, I just really wanted you to feel not overwhelmed and get things going. So of course, once you run a hybrid event, you can tweak this, you can add to this however you see fit, but this is just a really clear, easy way to get started. So first, get to your space early to set up and test your Wi-Fi connection. We'll get a bit more into this later, but this is a really, really crucial step. Then for your event, I suggest having two different laptops. Your main laptop, which you should have at the front of your room that you're using or the venue, either at a podium or at a table near the front. And this main laptop should have a camera and a microphone. So essentially this main laptop will have the Zoom open with all your online participants and will be the eyes and ears of your virtual audience. So one of the reasons I suggest coming early is so you can do this exact next step, which is have someone log into the Zoom prior to ensure that the camera placement on the main laptop is good and the sound is clear. So that's really, really crucial. Have someone log in so they can say, hey, I can only see the ground, or I can't hear anything. So arrive early so you can do this and make sure that you have a Wi-Fi connection so you can even open the Zoom. Then I always suggest having a second computer where someone can monitor the Zoom chat and essentially be the host for your virtual attendees. So your event will likely already have, for your in-person portion, a host or an MC. It's really important that you also have someone dedicated to your virtual audience so that if there are questions in the chat, they're being answered, that virtual audience doesn't feel forgotten. And also if any tech issues come up, there's someone there to respond to that and see people flagging it. So then I also suggest having your MC of the in-person event at the front and also have your nonprofit presenters at the front, right where that MC is. So they're also utilizing that main laptop. Then what you can do is create a Grapevine voting post once the presentations are done, or you could even do that before your event as well, and encourage your virtual members to log into the Grapevine platform and vote on the finalists that way. In terms of your in-person members as well, to make it easier, you might want to just encourage them to also log into Grapevine and vote via that post, or you could add the online votes to those you count in person at your event. So that's the whole framework. Those are 8 steps to really dip your toe into running a hybrid event for your giving circle. Now we're going to look at some giving circles that are using hybrid events to just really get some community sourced insights from people on the ground running these type of events. So we've got first up Lynn Kelleher, who runs our 100 Women Who Care Bucks County group. So one thing she really flagged was include the Zoom link in all your reminders. Call it out, make it easy for people to access. And once you get a bit more comfortable, you might also want to invest in a mic that you can easily sync up to your Zoom in the sound settings. And I've got one here that she uses if you want an example. Really key, repeat questions from the audience so Zoom participants can hear them. As I mentioned, you're going to have your laptop set up at the front of the room. So if someone in the very back of your in-person event is asking a question, chances are high your Zoom participants will not hear it. So that's really an important part of the MC in your in-person event, to call out those questions, and also the person moderating or your facilitator for the Zoom chat, have them also repeat things by typing them in the chat as well. And this is a piece from Lynn that she said she learned over time. Keep it simple, especially when you're starting out trying to host a Zoom, a hybrid event. You don't have to do everything at once. She suggests only verbal presentations to avoid adding more technology. No slideshows, just have your presenters verbally present. That's totally up to you. It's easy to incorporate slideshows as well, but maybe for your first event, you want to just keep it to simple verbal presentations. Okay, next up we have our Ann Arbor Women for Good group. So I love this. In all their communication, they mention, we want you there in whatever way works best for you. So back to the idea of making it really easy for people to participate in your events and not penalizing them necessarily if they can't come in person. They also suggest, remember to record your event for those who can't join and share it out afterwards. And a really key piece, if there's networking, perhaps at the beginning of your event, ensure that the Zoom time reflects that. So your Zoom participants aren't just sitting there waiting while networking occurs. And another great idea is to have in-person networking and also have your Zoom participants do their own networking. Next up, we have our Madison Professional Women for Good group. So one thing that they mentioned was they definitely suggest utilizing Zoom over a technology like Google Meets. Google Meets is also free, but you can't see everyone's video and it's a little bit more complicated to log into. Also, key, ensure your location has adequate Wi-Fi and is willing to let you use it. That's a great suggestion. Okay, next we have our Fort Wayne Women for Good group. So this is something we've already talked about, but they really emphasize having an in-person host and also a host for your virtual audience so that the in-person host isn't splitting their time. This can often be a lot for a host to manage and also create a little confusion for who the host is speaking with or addressing. At the beginning of your event, definitely have your in-person host say, hey, welcome everyone, and especially welcome everyone joining virtually. But after that, really have a dedicated Zoom host for them. And one thing they wanted to call out, hybrid events easily allow members to participate by networking with other virtual attendees and learning more about the nominated nonprofits before voting. So it's just giving people one more way to engage with you and learn, especially when they're not able to attend in person. Okay, so now we've walked through a framework, we've heard some really excellent community sourced insights. Now we've put together a quick sort of checklist for you if you are going to be running a hybrid event. Number one, share clearly and widely that you'll have both an in-person and virtual option available. Don't hide the virtual event, let people know so they can plan around it. It's really important that you communicate the virtual element just as much as you're communicating the in-person element and making it really easy for people to find that Zoom link. Decide on your tech setup in advance. So instead of going to the venue and then trying to figure everything out, take a look at our framework that we provided, the example, see what elements you might want to take from that. Maybe you want to add in some of your own, but decide on the tech setup in advance. This means that when you go to your actual venue, you'll know exactly what you need to test out and you're not on the fly going to be figuring everything out. Figure out who's hosting both your in-person piece and also your virtual piece. As I mentioned, it's really critical. Those are two different people. And so decide prior who that will be. This is also a really key way that you can unify both of these audiences because both will feel special, they'll feel acknowledged, and this is a great way to connect those audiences. I know I've said this a couple times, but confirm with your venue that there's a strong Wi-Fi that you can use. If they don't have a strong Wi-Fi you can use, you might want to use a member's hotspot. Just test that out prior and make sure it's a strong hotspot. Get to your venue early to test your setup and the Wi-Fi connection. Very critical. And as I mentioned, have someone log in as a virtual participant prior to the event starting to confirm the sound and camera placements are good. And then afterwards, especially if it's your first hybrid event, survey your members. Use a SurveyMonkey, a Google survey, just an email, whatever's easiest for you, and ask members what their experience was like. And if they would like anything added, if they think that it would improve in certain ways. It's really key, especially when you're doing something new, that you take a couple extra minutes and survey your members to figure out what worked and what didn't work. So that's the end. This is a lightning session. So I know that was quick, but hopefully that gave you really tangible, simple ways to run a hybrid event and allowed you to really see the benefits of it and why it's something you should consider or even just test out once so that you can reevaluate if it makes sense for you or not. So as I said, I'm Gabby. I'm the community manager at Grapevine. My email is gabrielle@grapevine.org, and you can learn more about us, Grapevine, at grapevine.org. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the summit, and thank you so much for joining me today.